And will be, of course, made available for everyone. So just not for not all for just for the participants. And let's cut to the chase. Oh, sorry, just one side remark. Sorry for yesterday hiccups with the invitation links. You know how it goes. It's easy to have tests for 20 people, but not for 250 or 300. So apologies. And today we meet to discuss the research careers and ERA Action 4, and we have a fantastic group of speakers. We've had really diverse group of brilliant professionals approaching the substance, the subject of research careers from very many different angles, and that's the idea of this event, just to confront different perspective and to see what's the outcome. But before we will go into details, I would like to say a few words about the framework that we are all in. Just let me share my screen. And this framework, can you see my presentation, Inspiring ERA Exchange? Okay, thank you. So the framework is called Inspiring ERA Exchange, and Inspiring ERA and Inspiring ERA Exchange. So what is Inspiring ERA? Inspiring ERA, excuse me, is a project funded by the Commission in the framework of Horizon Europe program, with German DLR being the coordinator. The project has 8 partners, and our subtitle or leitmotif of what
You're muted, Maciek.
You're muted. Okay, thank you. So, okay, once again, apologies. Inspiring ERA is a project funded by the European Commission in the framework of Horizon Europe program, and our subtitle or leitmotif is to breathe new life into the European research area. And how do we do it? By collaboration. Collaboration with whom? With, of course, member states, associated countries, the Commission, different stakeholders, action owners, ERA forum member, and so forth. And what are our objectives? So first and foremost is to raise awareness and promote the ERA as such and its successful implementation. So ERA is an area, right? So it stretches from Cyprus to Ireland and from Finland to Portugal. So it needs to be spoken of, it needs to be articulated. So, and this is what we are here for. And we have managed to do it so far by, in my opinion, very successful ERA conference that we held in September in Brussels, of course, in very close collaboration with the Commission. But we are still working on that, so that's not our final word. Then our second objective is to share best practices from the ERA community. How to implement her, what are the obstacles, what are the successful practices that can be implemented elsewhere, and so forth. And finally, to speed up the adoption of advancements that are made under the umbrella of the ERA. So ERA is a living organism. It's not fixed in stone. There are still some new regulation, policy, measure, instrument, tools, and so forth, and they need to be put into practice. And hence, we are here to help you with that. And what do we do, actually? Well, our activity can be structured in these 5 points. So first, on our website, because our website is kind of central focal point of our activity, but of course not the only one, but many threads just point the website is the primary or ultimate source of information. So we gather the insight and then we share this with the stakeholders. A community of practitioners, that revolves around our website. You can find many useful information. You can find the invitation to our activities. You can subscribe to our newsletter and so forth. The number 3 and 4 point, communicating insights and facilitating interaction and exchange. Actually, this event is beautiful illustration and example of these 2 points, because this is what we are aiming at today. And with this event, we are opening the series of 4 different events that we are going to hold this year in November and December. And this year's focus are action 3, 4, and 14. So research assessment, research careers, and citizens engagement. And last but not least, provide policy recommendation on the basis of the knowledge that we gather. We analyze it, we structure it, and we try to formulate some best practices, some guidelines or policy recommendations that can be implemented in different environment. And what is this Inspiring Era Exchange? This is the actual meeting that we are participating in. So this one is the first out of 10 interactive meetings. The ambition of Inspiring Era Exchange as such is to tackle particular element of particular action. So we don't want to, as a rule, we don't want to cover all the threads that appear within one action, but just to take one particular element and discuss it with the experts. How do we do it? By approaching the strategic stakeholder. Who are strategic stakeholders? Definitely it's the Commission. These are action owners. These are sometimes independent bodies. Right now we are working on the work plan for 2025, and we are being approached by different stakeholders, and we are discussing it where and how and with whom we may organize something else. And this one is a bit irregular, because as a rule we have envisaged the Inspiring Era Exchange as the panel session followed by breakout rooms, and that should be held rather in person. But coming back to slide number 2, because of collaboration, we have come to the conclusion that it's better to discuss research career in this manner that we are discussing today. So we have very intense dialogue before our IEE. But in order not to pay lip service, I would like to draw your attention to the next Inspiring Era Exchange. This is about impact measurement, and we are going to hold it in DLR headquarters in Berlin in December. And we are going to tackle the question of impact measurement. So we can design many policy measures, programs, instruments, but how actually do they work? What's the impact? How to measure the impact? That's the question we'll be trying to answer in Berlin. And just coming to an end, please join our community, follow us on our social media, LinkedIn and X, follow our website, and last but not least, share your experience. On our website, there's a section experiences, and there's a survey that is permanently posted, and please please fill into this survey, share with us your successful implementation and all the obstacles and problems or challenges that you have come across, and please bear in mind that this is the channel that will eventually go to the Commission. So all your content will be then forwarded to the Commission in form of different reports. So please use this survey. And that would be it from my side. And right now I'd like to give the and right now I would like to give the floor to Manuel Aleixo, The head of ERA unit at the DG RNI, European Commission. Manuel, I'm not sure if you are here.
Maciek, sorry, if
yes.
I may intervene. Manuel is trying to connect. Let's see. Normally and hopefully he will be with us in a few seconds. So
okay.
if let's see if he manages. Unfortunately, he's not in the office. He's got other commitments, so he's trying to connect from where he is, and hopefully he will be with us in a few moments. Meanwhile, just to highlight that I saw a few comments in the chat. Now that we are in the era of artificial intelligence, it seems that there are a lot of attempts to have artificial intelligence tools to attend the meeting, but I am not sure that this is that everyone agrees with this approach. So perhaps I don't know if you want to say something about it. Maciek?
No, that's also kind of surprise to me personally.
If I may explain that quickly, if you're starting recording the meeting, it's automatic information sent by MS Teams, but I can assure you that they're off, because after starting the recording of the meeting, they are automatically on, and I turn them off. So there is no AI notes with this meeting.
All right, thank you. And meanwhile, Manuel managed to join, so we have also Manuel online.
Great. So Manuel, the floor is yours. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, dear colleagues. I'm sorry I'm not with you for the whole event, because I am indeed today in the council for other adventures, not entirely unrelated to what you're doing today. This is the discussion of the council conclusions under the Hungarian presidency on competitiveness and the European research area. So, of course, careers are a part of the discussions, naturally, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to say good morning, and thank you to you, of course, and to the Inspiring ERA Consortium for organizing this event. I wanted to say hello to the colleagues from my unit who are also involved. A special word of welcome to Louisa, who I see there on screen. And wishing you all a very good day of discussions and a very fruitful exchange. I won't say anything about the substance, because you know it much better than I do, of course, but I would like to leave one message for your consideration, which is the following. Of course, we are at a transition moment. You know this very well. We are at a moment of political transition, where we're moving to a new College of Commissioners. We're moving to, we have now a new parliament in place. We will have new priorities and new challenges ahead. And I think it's very important that your discussions take that into consideration. And I know that I'm sure that this is the case. We have ahead of us a proposal for an hopefully very efficiently under the Polish presidency early next year. And of course, we have other important challenges ahead. I'm thinking about the ERA Act that we are now conceptualizing on what it could be. I'm thinking about the discussions on the future program. So I know that a lot of this is not necessarily under the direct scope of your discussions, but of course, the way you shape and the way that you establish the policies on research careers, which are crucial to the development of the European research area, will certainly have to feed into these processes and to these challenges that we have ahead of us. So my message is just very simple. Thank you very much for your availability and for your commitment, and we count on you not just to develop these discussions now in the context of Action 4, in the context of the future action on careers in the Next Era policy agenda, but certainly even more deeply into the future policy. So I wish you all the best for today, and I hope to see some of you in some form or another in the next few weeks, whether it's ERA Forum meetings or other discussions that we may have the opportunity to see each other. So I wish you a nice day, and now I have to go off to discuss with the Hungarian presidency and with the member states the next council conclusions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Manuel. Thank you, and good luck with the Hungarian presidency. And now I would like to give the floor to Dario to tell us something about our Action 4 policy agenda and the Council recommendation. Dario, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Maciek, and it's good to see so many participants today. Thank you also from my side for taking care of the organization of this event. And I will be happy to present to you what is happening from the point of view of Action 4 of the ERA policy agenda, and in particular to explain to you what this council recommendation on research careers is about. I will just ask you for confirmation that you can see my slides. Perfect. Great, thank you. And so let's start with a bit of background and policy context. So what are the numbers we are talking about when we talk about research careers in Europe? Well, we have over 2 million researchers. This is according to Eurostat data 2022. This is a substantial number. There was a substantial increase, in fact, in the last 10 years or so, even compared to other actors such as China and the US. And in general, researchers are 1% of the total EU labor force. So once again, we are talking about something significant. Let's have a look at what are the main challenges for research careers in Europe. And of course, we have challenges pertaining to recruitment and working conditions. We have the need to fight precarity, to ensure financial well-being of researchers. We have the aspect of skills in order to better respond to the labor market's needs. There is also a need to strengthen and facilitate intersectoral mobility, to have improvements for the assessment and reward system, and also to have reforms that can conduce to a better balanced talent circulation. Now, Action 4 of the ERA policy agenda, what are we talking about? Well, just to give a bit of background, in the treaties, we have now clearly mentioned the European research area, which is this ambition to have a single market for researchers, scientific knowledge, and technology. Now, this European research area, how to revamp it? Well, the ERA policy agenda, so a set of 20 actions that you can see on screen now, are something that was put in place by the Council at the end of 2021 in order to revamp the European research area. Among these 20 actions, one of them specifically addresses research careers, even though many of the other actions, in a way or another, are also linked to research careers. So this is what we're talking about, Action 4 of the ERA policy agenda 2022-2024. We are now towards the end of 2024, so it's normal that we have delivered a lot for this Action 4. What concretely? Well, we have worked on a package for attractive and sustainable research careers. And I would like to say that when it comes to Action 4, the work which has been done by the Commission, supported by two important, as they are called, co-sponsors of this action, namely Portugal on behalf of member states, and the Coimbra group of universities representing stakeholders. And in fact, both of them are also present today, and you will hear their voices later on in this meeting. Now, I mentioned this package for attractive and sustainable research careers stemming from Action 4. There are 4 strands for this package. And the first, and I will say most important one, is the one on setting some standards in Europe that can support better research careers. These standards are contained in this Council recommendation on a European framework for research careers, which was adopted by the Council in December 2023. So let's say almost a year ago. This is a very important document, and this also includes the new European Charter for Researchers, which replaces the 2005 Charter and Code for Researchers. So we have these new standards. We need to make sure that these new standards are adequately implemented. So we have put in place a number of instruments to support the implementation of these standards. You can see, for example, references on the slide to MLE, which means a mutual learning exercise supported by the Horizon Europe Policy Support Facility, and which is addressed to member states, to governments, in order to exchange good practices on how to implement the new standards. And then you can see a number of other initiatives that will be presented and discussed later on today, such as ResearchComp, the ERA Talent Platform, the Observatory on Research and Innovation Careers, ReSaver, and so on. Another strand is on reforming researchers' assessment. This is something which is addressed once again, and you will see that in a moment, also in the Council recommendation. But the work on this is in fact specifically addressed in another action of the ERA policy agenda, which is Action 3. Finally, we have a strand on investments. Here we start with, or we started already, with a pilot call under Horizon Europe this year. In fact, the call closed just a few weeks ago, and this supports organizational change. So the implementation by organizations of the principles of the new Charter for Researchers and of the new framework for research careers in order to have better careers for researchers, but this call also supports easier employability, in particular for early career researchers. The idea is to create talent ecosystems where actors from different sectors interact among each other based, once again, on the principles of the new principles of the Council recommendation, the Charter for Researchers, and based on activities that support easier employability. Now, this is Action 4. We are talking here about 2022-2024, but the work will not finish at the end of this year. Not at all. There is really a political momentum around research careers in Europe. Manuel actually mentioned a little bit this aspect. So there will be a continuation of work also in the next ERA policy agenda, which will start in 2025. And you can see on the top right side of the slide that we aim for the moment at having at developing some guidelines, recommendations, at having communities of practice, at having a more structured investment pathway, and so on. So the work will continue. All in all, we are addressing research careers in all sectors. But what I would like to underline is that the idea is not to promote mobility of researchers from academia to other sectors only. The idea is rather to have a flow of researchers between all sectors, actually in line with this idea of having a single market for researchers, scientific knowledge, and technology. And now let's have a look at the Council recommendation itself. You can see here that there are 8 pillars along which the Council recommendation is structured. I will not spend too much time on this slide, which is just a summary of the pillars of the Council recommendation, for the simple reason that I will now present those pillars one by one. And obviously, the first one is on definitions. And here we have definitions of researchers, of course, but it is also important to note that we also have definitions and I will say recognition of other important professions, such as the ones of research managers and research technicians. The Council recommendation itself is focusing on researchers, so on researchers' careers, but this is very important because there is a recognition of the importance of these professions and of the need to do some work at European but also at national level to further develop the frameworks for these professions. We also have revised R1, R4 profiles for researchers, and this is coupled also with examples of occupations. So this can be found in Annex 1 of the Council recommendation. A second pillar is on recognition, interoperability, and comparability of researchers' careers. Here, there is a call to have an equal esteem and reward for different career paths. And there is also a call to human resources officers employing researchers to map career structures against the R1, R4 profiles, of course, based on based on the support that can be given by the annex with examples of occupations that I mentioned a moment ago. Pillar 3 is on recruitment and working conditions. Here we have provisions on open, transparent, and merit-based recruitment. We have also the aspects of attractive working conditions, of course, remuneration, job security, stability. For example, there is a reference to limiting the number of fixed-term contracts. Then we have social protection, the promotion of Resaver, which will also be presented briefly later on, the aspects of equality and inclusiveness, and we also have specific measures and incentives in support of early career researchers, which, according to the definition of the Council recommendation, are the R1 and R2 profiles. A fourth pillar is on skills for intersectoral and interdisciplinary careers, and also for entrepreneurship and innovation. So here there are recommendations to support the development of skills, in particular based on research comp. We have also recommendations to foster innovation and an entrepreneurial mindset in researchers, the elimination of structural and administrative barriers to mobility, and also interdisciplinary mobility of researchers. Pillar 5 is on career assessment, development, and progression. So here there is a focus on the recognition of all mobility experiences. There are recommendations towards a reformed assessment and reward system. And here what is important to highlight is that this is fully aligned with the so-called agreement on reforming research assessment that was signed and published some time ago, and on the ongoing work of the Coalition for Advancing Research Assessment, so the so-called COARA. So there is full alignment between what is in the Council recommendation in relation to assessment and the ongoing work. Then we have a part on advisory and support services, and also provisions on a fair, equal, and inclusive accession and progression system, including the consideration for tenure track-like systems. A pillar is dedicated on the very important topic of balanced circulation of talents. And here there are recommendations to member states in order to make their national research and innovation systems more attractive, and also recommendations to the Commission to put in place initiatives, for example, in terms of MLEs. And I already said that there is already ongoing one of these mutual learning exercises to monitor flows and to put in place other measures to facilitate attraction and return of talents. Finally, the last two pillars. One is on support actions for research careers. Here we talk about strengthening EURAXESS, for example, developing the ERA Talent platform. Of course, the new European Charter for Researchers that I mentioned already as well. All of this, in fact, is what will be discussed today, also with, in some cases, some good examples that will be shared in order to support all of you as stakeholders. Finally, there is a pillar which is on monitoring research careers. In a way, this is also something related to monitoring how the implementation of this council recommendation will go, because there will be an observatory on research careers, which has already been launched, and you will hear about it later on from our colleague from the OECD, because this observatory is being developed in partnership with the OECD. So with this, in fact, the council recommendation concludes. As you can see, there is a lot in it. The idea was, in fact, to address all challenges of research careers in Europe. Before I conclude, I would just like to highlight that we have developed a web page which is related to Action 4 and to the support that Horizon Europe provides to Action 4. This is a very comprehensive web page. You can see all the initiatives linked to Action 4, all the support that Horizon Europe provided and is providing. So I encourage you to visit this web page to know more about all of this. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the rest of the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Dario, for this excellent overview. And now I would like to invite Luisa Henriquez from as the FCT Board of Directors. Luisa is the Action sponsors for many years now. Super experience, so we'd love to hear your presentation. Thank you. Luisa, would you please take the floor?
Luisa, you are muted.
Yes, we can see your presentation, but not in full screen mode yet.
Full screen, now it's okay. I hope, yeah. Good morning to all. It's a pleasure to be in another workshop of Action 4 and on promoting this new concept for research careers within an European framework.
And we'll find out about plates and things like that. That's good.
What I'm going to do, and it's interesting that Manuel Aleixo referred to you on this. We are in a changing period. We are preparing the next 7 years. In terms of the framework program, we are having new policy priorities due to the change in the policy orientations and the new bodies. And it's always important to have a longitudinal overview about how research careers and human resources in European research area have been approached. I'm not going to present European Framework for Research Careers because Dario has already done it in a quite detailed way. But what I'm going to focus is more on what is our perception as Action 4 about what is going on at member states level and organizations level, and a fresh look in what these new reports are proposing regarding research careers in order to understand if we are building on the path opened in 2021, or are we changing directions? It's important to know that policy changes takes time. There was more or less 27 years until the European Research Area was approved. The idea was floating around since the 70s, and it was only inscribed in the policy-making process of that time. Former European Union, so the European communities, by 2000. So with a communication from the Commission towards the European Research Area and the respective Council resolution of June 2000. And it took 8 years to be, luckily we had a revision of the treaty. And so in the Lisbon Treaty, and this article number 79 has already been mentioned by Dario, we have European Research Area inscribed as well. It is the European Framework Program. They are part of the treaty. They need to be, they need to follow, every action needs to follow what the treaty says. But the European Research Area has had a kind of complex implementation, and I'm going a little bit through it, but just to conclude on this, we have the European Research Area revamped, renewed, with the trio of presidencies composed by Germany, Portugal, and Slovenia during the period 2020-2021, with the tasks divided by the presidencies. And it's important to say that this renewal of the European Research Area changed a lot the approach. It became centered on 4 pillars. It was researcher-centered, with excellence and impact, and also a value-based approach. And we try to give shared responsibilities, participation of stakeholders and citizens. What we can see, for instance, an example of the operationalization of this with the ERA Forum, diversity and strengths of the ecosystems in Europe. We don't need to be only one. We are a composition of many European ecosystems. Provide directionality to the European Research Area, quality, priority for investments, the 3% target just renewed by the ECO last week in Budapest, and with ERA actions that are included in the ERA policy agenda. So I'm not going to explain all these new ERA priorities, but what is important to know is that from the beginning, in the part of deepening of the European Research Area, there was the idea of enhancing the attractiveness of research careers and about balanced brain circulation, talent absorption, unbalanced mobility of partners, etc. So it means that from the conception of the new era, this was well thought and pursued. So Dario presented exactly this slide before. It's just to say that strengthening a research careers are Action 4, and we have reached that approach. But what happened to the research careers in itself? In the beginning, research careers were not a subject in itself. It was mingled with human resources. It was mentioned in the initial communication in terms of human resources, then start moving towards the creation of a charter and code, and this instrument that applies the charter and code human resources strategy for researchers 5 years later. And then there were some council conclusions, some recommendations, but not much has happened since 2008. We had council conclusions in 2008 that talks about the fifth freedom. It's not new what letter has included because it's in the treaty. It was renamed during the previous trio by Slovenian presidency, the fifth freedom, and it is in the council conclusions where it was mentioned work-life balance, better careers, more mobility. As well, again, focus on mobility in 2010 council conclusions and careers, and there was in 2016 the initial start of this movement towards more focus on careers and researchers in 2016 with the council conclusions from the Slovak presidency, early stage researchers. So, in fact, on what we are seeing being operationalized now has been quite fast. In 3 years, we have done a lot. We had the first kickoff was the council conclusions on attractive and sustainable research careers under the Portuguese presidency in 2021, and the council recommendation on the European framework for research careers under the Spanish presidency in 2023. We have been fast, huh? In 3 years, we have done almost more than 20 years before. What I want, I have these slides for a while, but I spent the last days reading all the reports, and this is really a very crucial slide, and I want you to focus on this. In 2000, the priority and the focus, as well in 2007 was that we need researchers for the system. So it was centered to the needs of the European, to the needs of the national and European research systems, and to the competitiveness of Europe. We changed the approach with revitalization of European research area to the researchers. It was research-centered, focusing to the attractiveness and sustainability of careers and working conditions. That was in 2021. And by the end of my presentation, you will see that careers have disappeared again in these new reports and policy orientations. Not disappeared, but it's not the focus. We are back to the systems approach. During these 3 years, and this is for you to understand that there is a complex system to put everything into place. So we have the new communication on what is the new European research area that we are expecting, proposed by the Commission, then the respective council conclusions, and then all the necessary council resolutions and council conclusions and that will frame the policy direction and the operationalization of what we have in place. And we have the ERA Forum and COAR, linked with COAR as well for research assessment in place. Just to remind something that I think that people confused a little bit, is that the Council of the Union is the decision-making body, and has had a ministerial conference derived from the Pact for R&I. We have ERAC as the high-level policy advice composed by the European Commission and by the Council. The European Commission is the executive body and the only one almost with the right of initiative. And the other forum is an advisory body to the Commission where member states, associated countries, and stakeholders meet to provide advice. Dario previously just talked about this, but what I want to explain to you, what happened in 2021 was a completely change of rationale on the way policymakers were looking to the careers. There were, since the second decade of 2000, that the situation, because of this increase of researchers that was already mentioned as well, that the situation of researchers was and is still complex. So we had high precariousness in academia mainly. We have not anymore linear careers, but multi-path careers which did not find themselves reflected in the regular frameworks or laws for the careers progressions. We have a reward and assessment systems that was old and not in line with open access or with the talent-based approach. We have problems with the mismatch of skills. If you read Draghi report, this is an important issue that is putting forward. Problems with working conditions, and in fact, something that was important in the Council conclusions from 2016 was that we need to monitoring the research of labor market, and we need proper data and indicators and measure. That was the seed for the observatory that Claudia is going to talk to you about. And it was thought that we need to have framework conditions to retain and attract talent. Okay, so this was a framework, as already talked about, and I'm not going to develop this because Dario has already exposed it, but I want to nevertheless to call the attention for 4 important points. The Council recommendation for the European Framework for Research Careers is not a legally binding document. It's a policy orientation of the Council towards the Commission, the Member States, and the stakeholders. It's not mandatory, but it's providing the direction to where to go. The other important change was that we have realized that the research and innovation policies by themselves could not solve the problems of research careers because it involves other policies like employment, social security, and others, pension schemes. So we need to have an approach that includes multiple and align multiple public policies. The other important finding for us is that no one owns the research careers. There is not a single owner, okay? So member states are not the owners. Organizations are not the owners, regions, so European. So there are multiple levels of governance. There are multiple levels of owners of research careers and innovation careers. And this really needs a lot of shared approach, shared objectives, shared paths, coordination, a lot of culture change in order to organize this organizational change that we need to be effective, and it needs to be done in a structured way to contribute to the policymaking process. And we have going to, doing that, so already Action 4, we have done all what we have committed. Dario already explained this, what the future of Action 4. So I'm passing for some of the lessons learned during these 2 years of Action 4 and from all the meetings. So the next slides are a summary of my notes from meetings of Action 4 and from meetings and workshops. And what I've learned was there are a global, European, and national competition for talent. And all countries, independently of the level of their research systems, are mobilizing measures and instruments to attract and retain talent. So this is not a perfect market. This is really something that we need to think that there is fierce competition, and all member states, all countries, all companies, all universities are mobilizing all the dimensions they can to attract and retain talent through salaries, working conditions, quality of life, etc. Most of the highly developed R&D systems depend on foreign talent. Research careers are not attractive from their natives. So all well-developed systems are really dependent on foreign talent. So pressure for flows of researchers and for mobility is really strong. Another conclusion is that research performing institutions they depend on precarious researchers to perform high-quality research, as funding systems are centered on short-term project-based mechanisms, and the proposed are 1 or 2 contracts in the European framework has created a problem for many. So this is something that requires a change in the way funding for research is being developed. Multi-career paths, interoperability, intersectoral mobility is yet to be a reality, and it is linked with the reform of research assessment. A lot of instruments are in place, but they are not yet there as well. We are not like there in tenure track-like models. From one of our meetings, I compiled some notes about what is happening at member states level and stakeholders level. And we see, in terms of changes in national regulatory systems, laws, and governance, that many member states and associated countries have developed national R&D strategies, including the new European approach for research careers. So this is slowly but surely moving there. There are reforms in career laws and structures. My country is an example. We are expecting to have a new statutes for the research careers soon approved by the government, with already the approach from the European framework. Some happen in Spain, some happen in many other countries. There are countries that are creating advisory bodies or promoting high-level conference workshops, so to reflect upon what is needed to be done in order to have attractive research and sustainable research careers. There are position papers, reports published. There are negotiations between national governments and the institutions to align the national framework mechanisms with the strategic plans of the organizations. And there are a trend towards the adoption of R1, R4 scheme. There are great mobilization around the reform of research assessment and reward systems, and focus on career assessment for progression. There are development of diverse models for early career researchers that remains a focus since 2016. There are concerns and really entered into the agenda for equal opportunities, gender balance, and more recently, mental health. New funding instruments are being put in place, like are countries that are rethinking their funding cycles towards a more balanced funding between project and core institutional funding. There are programs to create new positions for early career researchers and career development to reduce precarity. There are support to entrepreneurial careers and promotion of this vocation, mechanisms to support mobility, cooperation with the areas and expatriates. At organizational level, we found implementation of Career Guidance Office and Office for Human Resources. We have seen transversal skills for the doctor candidates to be integrated at PhD program level. We have seen skills development courses and adoption of research content by the institutions, and we see the umbrella organizations, University Alliance, creating and mobilizing working groups to reflect upon how to better align and coordinate strategies. So this is what more or less we can capture from the work of Action 4 beyond the support measures, beyond the regulatory frameworks. But we are in a time, one of the most...
Excuse me, Luisa, could you please come to more or less?
Yes, I'm coming to
the end?
because,
okay.
Yes, because, but this is important and I want to show you.
Sure.
Like Manuel said, a lot of policy orientations and documents and reports are being published because we are in the start of preparation of a new cycle. And I have looked through all these documents with the lens of the European research careers. And what we can see is the Council strategic agenda talking about attract and retain talent, the Political Commission guidelines talking about the need to create a condition for researchers to thrive, meaning providing infrastructures and innovative laboratories they need to test and develop, and attracting the new talents and bright talents to Europe. The mission letter for the Commissioner highlights exactly this: condition for researchers to thrive, fifth freedom, it means mobility, and support the next generation of researchers. I'm trying to be back. The latter report I already mentioned, fifth freedom, retain talent is crucial for Europe's economic resilience and innovative capacity. Draghi report talks about instruments for supporting excellent research institutions. World-leading research institutions necessitate a critical mass of talent with a significant number of top-tier researchers collaborating on closely related topics within the same physical space. And it proposes a new EU framework for private funding to enable public universities and research centers to compensate the top talent. And finally, the last report has been published, the Actors Report, the report on Align, Act and Accelerate, which is regarding the interim evaluation of Horizon Europe, which has not yet been published. There are several recommendations, again, two important, recommendation 5, recommendation 8, recommendation 5, attract and retain talent through MSCA program to foster a career for young researchers to choose Europe. Mobility, attract and nourish talent. Quality recognizes that quality of R&D jobs has not evolved at the same pace as the EU research force. Expand MSCA industry programs. Recommendation 8 fosters an attractive and inclusive R&D ecosystem in the EU. Attention is put for the brain drain from Europe to USA. It disappears the problem of brain drain within Europe, and proposes institutional co-funding and competition. By the way, the European Framework for European Research Careers is not mentioned. Thank you very much. It was fast, but I thought it was important to start telling that it's important to read these reports and trying to understand what would be the impact of this change of perspective back to the mobility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa, for this very comprehensive presentation that I liked personally a lot, especially this historical dimension and navigating us through this process. We are running behind a bit, so according to the agenda, there's a first Q&A session. So I think then we can have take up. You may ask one or two questions, and if that's the case, please raise your hands. And then we'll move forward to next block. But for the moment, I cannot see any hands raised. So that means that the presentation were perfect and comprehensive and answered all possible questions. So great. So I would like to give the floor to Slaven Myslienkiewicz, a policy advisor from the same units. This is ERA Spreading Excellence and Research Careers from the DGRNI, the European Commission. And Slaven will tell us more about ERA Talent Platform and Resaver. Slaven, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Maciek and everyone at Inspire ERA for organizing this event. Just to clarify, I'm a policy officer, not a policy advisor. I work in the same unit as Dario, and it's actually.
Slaven, you're muted.
You're muted.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much for spotting that. So, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Maciek, for organizing this event in close cooperation with the European Commission and all other Inspire ERA colleagues. I will give a brief presentation about some of the initiatives you might have heard of, which are the ERA Talent Platform, EURAccess, and Resaver. Given the size of this audience, I assume some of you might be quite familiar with these topics, while some will be less. So I will try to both satisfy the needs of the ones that are for the first time hearing about these initiatives by providing some basic information, but also I will try to give some new recent developments about these initiatives, which might also be new for those of you who are quite familiar with the initiatives I will be talking about. Let me first share my slides, and if Maciek or somebody else can confirm that you see my screen. Thumbs up. Perfect. So one of the, and then we will start with ERA Talent Platform. Now, one of the words that I haven't actually heard so much used by the previous speakers, but I'm pretty sure over the coming weeks and months and perhaps years we'll be using it a lot, will be the word simplification, right? We are already seeing it being used a lot in the hearings of our commissioner designate, and it also makes sense a lot that this will be a very important term used in the future. Now, you will see in my presentation, I will not use it all the time, but a lot of the things that I'll be presenting have to do something with simplification, right? And I think that ERA Talent Platform is a very good example of simplification. As Luisa mentioned, the ERA is now existing for more than 20 years. She gave you this historical overview of this, and a lot of the issues that relate to improving, or a lot of the issues that relate to the precarity of research careers are not that new. A lot of these issues have been existing also, most of them have been existing also at the start of the European research area. And in the course of the 2 decades, over time, initiatives have been launched. Dedicated initiatives to try to solve one or the other problem that relate to improving the attractiveness of research careers. These are concrete initiatives, of course, triggered by policy developments, but in reality, these are initiatives that aim to support directly higher education institutions, research performing organizations and researchers in one way or another. Now, over the time, as these initiatives have grown, I would say they have also been developed more or less in isolation, which means that from the perspective of the researcher, if a researcher wants to know what are the concrete initiatives, EU-level initiatives they can benefit from, it can be quite challenging to identify all of them. In that case, the Google is your best friend, but also this shouldn't be the case. There should be a place where a researcher goes to, kind of a one-stop shop, where a researcher goes to and they see all the relevant initiatives they can benefit from. And the same for research performing organizations. And this is pretty much the idea behind the ERA Talent platform. If we want to tell researchers or research performing organizations about concrete initiatives they can benefit from, in the past we would have to redirect them to 6-7 different initiatives. We can still do that. All these initiatives still exist, but we have packaged them under the ERA Talent platform. So this is a form of simplification. Now, this simplification goes beyond the pure packaging of these initiatives under this common platform, and I would say cross-referencing from one initiative to another, but it also has to do much more on how do we do things in the background. So instead of having, I would say, and for the time being, we have six different initiatives part of the ERA Talent platform, we do not have 6 different back offices of each of these initiatives. So we're also looking for simplifications in the back office. Now you will hear, or you have already heard some developments or some information about each of these 6 initiatives. Some of them you will hear. My colleague Dario will talk about ResearchComp just after me. From my side, I will only focus on 2 of the 6 main initiatives, which are EURAXESS and ReSaver. What is also quite important is that in the future, if there are concrete new initiatives related to that support researchers or research organizations one way or another, not the policy-related developments, right? For that, we have the ERA policy platform, but anything that is concrete and has a target audience, researchers or R&I institutions, you will find it there. So it's also a good place to check every couple of months to see if there is something new. So let's start perhaps with EURAXESS. So Luisa mentioned that ERA exists for more than 20 years. One of the first initiatives launched in the first ERA was EURAXESS, initially known as ERA More. And actually this year we are celebrating the 20 years of EURAXESS. Now, a couple of basics. Why does EURAXESS exist? What it is, when it was created, where it is. So I would say while EURAXESS now 20 years later is a very large initiative doing so many different things, if you boil it to the core, there are a couple of things that EURAXESS is very good at. And I would say this also has to do, if you look at a researcher journey. So first thing I say is that a researcher comes for the first time in contact with EURAXESS at the point of their career when they are curious about working in a different country or even a different sector. But in each case, in an environment they are not familiar with. They do not know how to find jobs. They do not know which are the job platforms in our country, which are the employers, etc., etc. And this is often the entry point of EURAXESS that researchers are using the most. It is to find jobs. However, while finding a job in our country is very important, this is not where EURAXESS purpose ends. Moving from one country to another country can be quite challenging. There are so many different issues that can rise, and for that purpose, EURAXESS is also supporting researchers during this move by offering a set of services. Finding a job in another country, moving to another country, very important decisions, quite challenging. We know that researchers, and also one of the precarity reasons is they have often short-term employment contracts, but there are a lot of questions about career development, either voluntary because they are curious about what are potential career steps, or because their contract is ending. And this is also what Euraccess provides. So this is, I would say, the third big block of what Euraccess does, in addition to help you find a job, help the researcher move to another country and integrate in a new country and develop their careers. Now, doing all of this, in order to do all of this, you both need a digital component of Euraccess and a physical component of Euraccess. And this is pretty much how Euraccess is structured. Often we talk about Euraccess, people assume that it is just a portal. It is very important, the European Euraccess portal. This is the digital side of Euraccess, on which we provide, for example, information about the jobs, funding opportunities, general information about living and working in Europe. We also kind of use this as an entry point to the service centers and to the other members of the Euraccess network. But at the end, it is a digital platform which has some advantages, but also some limitations. Now, one limitation of a European centralized platform is that researchers expect, or even research performing organizations, they expect country-specific concrete information, right? There are 43 countries part of Euraccess. At EU level, it would be very challenging to provide information about all 43 countries, which is complete and accurate and up to date. And that's why we have a very much involved Euraccess network, who is collaborating with us all the time. And what they actually have developed are Euraccess national portals. So if a researcher finds a job on the European portal and then eventually they are moving from one country to, for example, Sweden or Slovakia, then on the Swedish or Spanish, whatever national portal, they will find a lot of practical information about working in that country, about who to contact in that country in case of issues, etc., etc. So this is a very good combination of an EU level and national and regional level. Of course, also these are portals. As I mentioned, portals have some advantages, but because it can provide a lot of information to a lot of people in a very efficient manner, but a lot of cases that researchers find themselves in are very specific, right? And for that purpose, they need often additional support. And that's why behind the digital component of Euraccess, there is a huge network of people, around 650 service centers across the 43 countries that support researchers on a variety of topics. Not each service center supports researchers on all of these topics. They all have that kind of expertise when it comes to these topics, but nevertheless, it does show that it goes much beyond the digital component, that researchers and research performing organizations can really rely on a huge network of people across the 43 countries that can support them on really a variety of the topics. Here you see the list of the topics, but from the experience, we also see that the willingness of the network to support researchers on a topic that aren't even listed, that are not even official topics Euraccess is working on, but always with the idea, with the mindset of supporting the researcher one way or another. And then if you look all of this is all focusing on Europe and the neighboring regions. In addition, we also have what is called, maybe one more point on the service centers, because I really want to promote this much more than it was the case in the past. A good way to identify the service centers that are doing certain things is actually on the website, on the European portal. There is kind of a search function where you can see which are all the service centers, what they are focusing on, where they are located, and there's even a nice map if you want to see all of them, where they are located, etc. And if you would zoom into this map, you would see additional dots. So these are not all the dots here. And you can also see the geographical coverage of Euraccess network. Now, finally, we also have the Euraccess worldwide. This is quite a different modus operandi compared to the European side. When it comes to Euraccess Europe, everything I've presented so far, this is really a result of a close cooperation between the European Commission and the 43 countries part of Euraccess. When it comes to the Euraccess worldwide, there is no concrete collaboration between between, I would say, European Commission or any EU member state with the countries where the Euraccess Worldwide offices are located. Euraccess Worldwide is consisting of hired individuals that have their what we call Euraccess Worldwide hubs. There are currently 9 across the world, and the latest one is in Africa. The dot is not yet made on the map here, but it's a very important and it's a very important Euraccess Worldwide hub. What do they do? A lot of things. On one hand, they promote Europe as a destination to do research in. They're also often entertaining European scientific diaspora in their regions, and they're also supporting local agencies or whoever is located in those regions across the world in their daily activities. But often we see them as an instrument, I would say, to animate scientists outside Europe and to raise awareness about what both Euraccess is doing, but also what are the funding opportunities, for example, of Horizon Europe. Now, 20 years of Euraccess, we could not leave that unnoticed. That's why this year we have revamped the digital component of Euraccess, the thing that you see on your browser. We created quite a nice video. I would say you can check it on the Euraccess European portal. But what has actually changed? And because most of you are probably familiar with Euraccess, but there have been quite some changes there. And these changes are very important because you are eventually dealing with an initiative that exists for quite some time. So first of all, we have entirely restructured the European portal. There's a lot of content. There have been more than 25,000 pages on the European portal. And as I mentioned, the word simplification is crucial. So what we basically try to do is to apply a three clicks rule, meaning that any valuable content should be findable 3 clicks from the homepage. This required, of course, changing the entire structure of the platform, deleting a lot of unuseful content or outdated content, but also finding a way on how to present still quite some content in a manner that is user-friendly and the user does not get confused or overwhelmed by the amount and the complexity of the content. Second thing relates to the content itself. So we created quite some new content. We totally changed I would say, the angle of the narrative on or our policy towards content creation. When you have a platform where a lot of different pen holders have been involved in over the 20 years, you can imagine that the terminology, the complexity, the style is very different. And from the user perspective, it can be quite confusing. That's why we really put the researchers and research performing organizations at the core of this. In the past, we also had a lot of policy-related information or general information about the network. This is not what the users are interested in on this platform. There are other platforms for that. So we have really kind of made the scope of Euraccess platform a bit clearer. We also looked at what is an important topic. So it's really about reorganizing content and also having a good understanding of what are the priorities of the users. You cannot push all the content at the same time. You have to see what is the most interesting content for them. And also the content itself, it has to be simple, plain language. We had to change a lot of, we had to harmonize the tone of voice, change a lot of sentences, a lot of parts of the current website. And of course, this will be an ongoing endeavor. Another form of simplification is that when it comes to how to navigate through this. So we have the structure, the new structure of Euraccess, but of course we needed to improve the search. You still will need to search. I mean, for many things, you'll still use the search button, be it for jobs, funding, information, news, whatever. There's a lot of content there, and so the search function has to be very excellent. And this is what we paid a lot of attention to. So we have actually unified the search, one search for a lot of different things. For example, we have one search for everything related to researchers, jobs, and organizations. There's a huge databases in the background, and with one search, they can navigate through of this. Of course, we have also developed some additional features to make it easier for them to navigate. For example, one of the quite interesting developments was this, what we call Match My Profile. So when you click on Match My Profile, the system will look at what is your experience, what are your interests, and then it will suggest jobs based on that, so you don't have to pre-fill everything. Another quite important development relates to EU login. Anyone using your access has already been seen. What we actually want to do, again, it's also a simplification thing. We want to have one way to log in your access, which can also be useful for many other additional tools, be it EURES, Europass, Digital Skills and Jobs Platform, Cordis, you name it. So that's why also your access is switching to EU login gradually until the end of this year. Both initial your access login and EU login are existing, and from early next year this is going to disappear. And we're also continuously working on improving the security of the accounts on your access. And of course, we understand that this is extremely important, and this will continue to be ongoing endeavor. Another initiative relates to interoperability between your access and Europass. This is a quite big, yet quite important. Basically, what we want to achieve is that more things can be done. So in the job application process and the recruitment of new candidates, more tasks could be done on your access. And that's why we see it in the collaboration with Europass as crucial, where we basically want to have entire profiles, Europass profiles also in your access. So when somebody finds a job on your access, they can also create their CV based on their Europass CV and the library of CVs. They can create a motivation letter, and they can basically apply in your access. It's actually bring a lot of steps of our application process in your access. And this is currently ongoing, and this is expected to be operational early 2025. It's a quite challenging IT endeavor, but also a very important one. So this is about your access, a couple of main developments in a nutshell. As you probably noticed, I spoke about Airtime Platform, I spoke about your access. There's still one more initiative I want to briefly inform you about, which is Resaver. Resaver is an initiative that aims to tackle some of the issues researchers face when they move from one country to another. It is about pensions. Pensions are unfortunately not a topic that we often talk about. There are a lot of topics also on the radar, or challenges on the radar of individual researchers when they move from one country to another. They do not often think about pensions, but unfortunately what happens when somebody has been quite mobile across Europe, especially in case of short-term residences in different countries, well, at retirement age, the researcher might come up with some unpleasant surprises. And one of the main unpleasant pension-related surprises relates to what we call occupational pensions. A second pillar, it is basically what employer pays on top to their employee. And often what are the issues there is that the individuals lose these contributions. They think they have it, but when it's the moment to access them, they do not meet some minimal criteria to access these contributions, and eventually they do not receive them. Long story short, Resaver, basically what's important for you to know is that Resaver, it's basically an independent, non-profit financial institution located in Belgium. It is managed by Resaver by itself. It has a team that is growing across Europe. The team is located, and what they provide is a solution for the employers to give to their employees. It's a pension environment. It is very challenging to present pension-related challenges, no solutions in a couple of minutes. But nevertheless, what it does, it allows a researcher, on one hand, if you look at researchers or anybody who is mobile, it allows them to contribute to the same pension fund across different EU countries. So if a researcher is working for several employers, part of Resaver in different countries, then all the money is in the same pot. It's very easy to access it when they retire. On the other hand, imagine organizations, especially small organizations or even medium organizations, active in different countries in the EU. in the EU member states. You can also imagine that every time that you have an employee in a country, you have to comply with the social tax and labor law. You need to know what are the current market practices. So basically, often what means that if you have 5 individuals, 5 employees in 5 different countries on local contracts, it means that you need to have 5 different pension solutions to them, right? So we're also looking at with research, how can we support organizations on both expanding inside the EU and also how to make their administrative tasks a little bit lighter when it comes to pension. And the idea is always the same with both the researchers and research performing organizations should focus on doing research. So ReSaver is already operational for a couple of years. It is not operational everywhere. What does it mean being operational? Well, it means that there's one organization, at least from that country, that is putting money into the ReSaver for the benefit of their employees. Currently, ReSaver has organizations putting money to ReSaver from Cyprus, Italy, Hungary, Austria, Belgium, Netherlands, and France. Very soon, end of this year, it should actually have been done. We will also have Spain, and we have also started implementing Czech Republic. So this is on the current state. We also have a couple of intergovernmental organizations that are onboarding in ReSaver, such as from Portugal and other countries. However, we cannot put them on the map because intergovernmental organizations do not require national approval, and therefore they can relatively directly join ReSaver without the involvement of national regulators, which is actually the case for all the other organizations which are not intergovernmental organizations. As I mentioned, ReSaver is also part of the EuroTalent platform. As the launch of EuroTalent platform, we have also redone the entire website. The simplicity, again, is very key, especially when you talk about pensions, a rather complex topic. Long story short, on this new website of ReSaver, we both try to inform the researcher about how does it work with pensions, where to find more information, but the bulk of the website is dedicated to organizations that eventually have to make a decision to join ReSaver. We also worked a little bit on the back office. This is what we call My ReSaver. I'll not present the entire video, but in the back office, we have a platform that beneficiaries are using for really a variety of things. It's about making different changing investment decisions. It's about doing questionnaires, risk assessments. It's about receiving the certificates for the tax authorities, etc., etc. You can also find this video. What is next for ReSaver? Well, geographical expansion will continue, but we will slow it down. We want to focus on growth in the countries where ReSaver is already operational, meaning more organizations. Simplification, I'm using it one more time. So also when it comes to ReSaver, what we're currently looking at is a more standardized product. Currently, ReSaver is extremely flexible as long as it is compliant with the national social tax and labor law. We can customize ReSaver in a certain way. We want to create a kind of a standardized product in addition to the existing one, which can be really off the shelf and quite interesting for the SMEs. We are, of course, the environmental sustainable governance related investment strategy is becoming increasingly important everywhere, including in ReSaver. And what is quite interesting is that until now, ReSaver has already been distributing its products directly to the organizations. Currently, ReSaver is also investigating collaborations with other pension funds, with insurance companies, brokerages, etc., etc. So we hope that in the future there will also be other channels for organizations to participate in ReSaver. That's all. A lot of information in a short time. There'll be a short Q&A session during which I can answer any other questions you might have. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Slaven, a lot for the very passionate and interesting presentation, and I really appreciate your attempts to make it more concise. I well noted that you sped up, especially at the end. And now it's time for Research Comp, and over to Dario to present us the Research Comp at a glance, and then it'll be followed by 2 practitioners from Charles University. Dario, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maciek. So I'll try to be quick. Just a moment to share the slides. Normally, you should be able to see them. All right, so ResearchComp. ResearchComp is the European competence framework for researchers, but before diving into it, let's explain what a competence framework is. Normally, it relates to important fields, is based on reliable data and on consensus. It identifies and describes competences in a certain field, creates a common language and understanding. Obviously, in the case of EU competence frameworks, this is at EU level, and it also fosters, of course, the development of the competences that it contains. It is important to note that there are several competence frameworks at EU level developed by the Joint Research Center of the European Commission, and also for ResearchComp we received coaching from the JRC to develop ResearchComp. And here you can see a visual summarizing ResearchComp. So ResearchComp was developed in the context of the European Year of Skills, and you also find on this slide a QR code that will help you accessing the website. But let's focus on the content. So ResearchComp, in fact, was developed in order to support mobility of researchers between sectors. It therefore contains transversal competences that researchers are encouraged to develop. We have a structure which has 7 competence areas. These are the ones that you see in colors. And then for each of the competence areas, there are a number of competences. In total, they are 38. They are all equally important and interrelated. However, each stakeholder can make use of this framework of ResearchComp based on their own needs. So in fact, in general, we can say that all competences are equally important, but then perhaps each stakeholder might want to focus more on some of the competences contained. The competences can be acquired via in different ways, so via dedicated training, on-the-job training, peer-to-peer learning, coaching, mentoring, so different ways. But what is really important to say is that we do not expect researchers to develop and to develop up to the highest level all of these 38 competences. So the idea is certainly not to have superheroes. The idea is to support researchers in order for them to move more easily between sectors, in order for them to have more and better career opportunities. This is very important to highlight. I said that there are 38 competences. For a competence, a researcher can either not have that competence, so I will say level 0, or have a certain level of a given competence. So we have 4 proficiency levels: foundational, intermediate, advanced, and expert. But what is the use that can be made of ResearchComp? Let's start with researchers who are the main target of ResearchComp. What can they do? They can certainly self-assess their competences to see whether they have some of them, which ones, to what level, and of course, based on the self-assessment, they can upskill in order to develop competences with a lifelong learning perspective. What about higher education institutions and training providers? They can, of course, develop targeted training based on ResearchComp. In the cases of universities, we also hope that ResearchComp will be used to adapt doctoral training so that these competences can be developed by researchers from the outset, so during their doctoral training. ResearchComp can be useful also for employers because they can understand better what researchers can offer in terms of competences. And of course, it can also be used to prepare job vacancies. When it comes to policymakers, we are supporting and we will continue to support the use of ResearchComp, and based on it, we will develop and adapt policies. Let's have a look at the overall structure to have a better understanding. I already referred basically to all these aspects in the previous slides, but this is to put everything together. So we have the 7 competence areas, the ones that were in colors in my slide. As I said, in the 7 competence areas, there are a total of 38 competences, each of them with a descriptor. Each competence can have 4 proficiency levels. And then each proficiency level of each of the competences contains learning outcomes. These learning outcomes can help researchers to self-assess their skills and can help universities, training providers to develop targeted courses. Having said this, let's have a look at a concrete example in order to facilitate your understanding. We are talking here about the competence abstract thinking, which is part of the competence area cognitive abilities. You can see that there is a descriptor. I will not read it just to save time, but as all of the competences, there is a descriptor. And then there are learning outcomes along the 4 proficiency levels. How can it be used? As I already said, a researcher can have a look at this and can position himself or herself so that it is possible to see what kind of level of this competence they have. In the case of universities, training providers, these learning outcomes can guide possible courses to be developed. What are we doing to support the use of ResearchComp? Slaven has already mentioned the ERA Talent Platform. ResearchComp is part of the ERA Talent Platform. There is also Horizon Europe support. There was a call this year for a project that will start in the coming weeks and which will support the uptake of this European Competence Framework for Researchers. And when it comes about self-assessment, I said what kind of use a researcher can do now of ResearchComp, but in fact, what will come normally at some point next year will be an automatic self-assessment tool for researchers. This is something on which we are working, so that based on a number of questions and answers given by a researcher, they can see what they can see in a comprehensive and detailed way which competences they master and at which level. And with this, I conclude. I think that the most interesting part now is what comes next, because it is important to see what organizations, institutions, stakeholders are doing with ResearchComp, and I hope that the presentation that will come will help everyone else to take inspiration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dario, again. And indeed, that's a very interesting tool. And well, you gave the very nice introduction of the next speaker. So I would like Eva Janu and Lukasz Nachtigal from the Charles University in Prague to take the floor and give us some details on how it looks in practice. Eva, Lukasz, floor is yours.
Thank you for the floor. Hello to everyone. Thank you for a very nice introduction. We hope we will accomplish the expectations. We would like to add our experience of providers. I think it's nice complementary to the previous speaker because it actually mirrors our experience. Our presentation is twofold. I would like to present our experience from the point of view of provider of support of doctoral candidates while my dear colleague Eva Janu from Research Support Office will do the same, but for the target group for postdoctoral researchers on the concrete activity, which is the mentoring program. So I will start with what I said. I am from the head of doctoral studies office, and I would like just to start briefly with just some framework. I'm not going to read it, it's not important. Why? The reason I'm mentioning it, because the size of the university just a bit dictates our approach to the topic, which means that because each year we enrolled around 1,000 students to the doctoral study, and we have around 6,500 normally enrolled in the programs, we need to take more systematic approach. Unfortunately, in some cases, because on smaller size universities, it's better, at least from my experience, when I told my colleagues, to have a more personal approach. This is unfortunately on the level of the university of this size, with the 17 different faculties and 4 very different scientific topics, which is like a medicine area, medical area, social sciences, humanities, and natural sciences. Kind of complicated, but also kind of the challenge, which means we strive to make like this one umbrella activity to provide the basic support for the organizers and our students. Hence, we developed like 4 years ago this umbrella activity for our doctoral candidates, which is called Doctoral Study Hub. Disclaimer, it's not a doctoral school yet, let's say. For now, this activity, this umbrella activity, as I call it, it was for the 5 years. So next year we are going to update it, I hope, a lot for different format. However, right now it serves 2 purposes. The first one, and this is really important, honestly, is to just make aware of all courses that are providers or on the level of the university, on the rectorate level, because there are a lot of providers. But the basic problem is that a lot of doctoral candidates were not aware that there are such a support for them on the rectorate level. They tend to take courses from the faculty level, which is of course perfect. But what we like to do is to provide, and we hope we improve it already in the sense, just this basic portfolio of courses we deem to be important, especially for the new enrolled doctoral candidates. And if this is not provided by the faculty, then it's provided by us on the central level. So this like this basic idea behind this doctoral study hub. However, when we thought about this activity thoroughly last year, we just find out that we would like to have something more concrete, as a concrete format. We would start in some sense again and make it more clear to us as well as for the doctoral candidates what we actually provide. And then we come in conclusion for European Competence Framework for Researchers, and we are very grateful for that, to be honest, because it helped us to just sort our thoughts out. So what was the benefits of adopting the research comp? I think that I would like to stress out all these 4 sectors, because at the start, of course, it was the reason I mentioned. It was really good for our project. So we were able to just develop the one curricula with a clear framework. What we are doing, what we would like to do, is to expand it on the level of whole university, to just make clear on the same page and develop it as a one comprehensive portfolio based on the university rectorate level. However, it also helped us to connect this development to our target groups, which is where also Eva came in, and I'm very grateful for our discussion and cooperation for the past year, because I think this connection for postdoctoral candidates helped really a lot. So developing this portfolio all together with the same framework in mind, I think it's really beneficial. We try to design the courses that can be attended by both doctoral candidates or postdocs, and also to enhance the discussion between them, like the peer-to-peer, because it's the experience and the networking there is really, really great. What we like to do in not so far future, I really hope, is to even expand this to the young researchers support. to make it as a one clear path to all they are interested to study and stay in academia and make a research career. However, this adopting of research comp have other benefits. First of which was that we are, I'm really happy for that, more clear able to communicate with the other providers of support for doctoral candidates. For example, but it's not the only one, it's our National Library of Technology, which provides a lot of very interesting courses, open science, most of them, but not all. Their support and options are really wide. However, and that is really important, in the past, sometimes there was a mismatch of expectations, which means that some courses that were provided was not in the same format as we were expecting or thinking about it. That means that the provider, the external provider, was not providing the exact format we really needed, the piece to our portfolio that we can use. So this year we have a really, I think, good discussions on the level of National Library of Technology. This platform we developed to discuss, and I think it works quite nicely. And last but not least is the ability to communicate with other universities, because this and the next year we coordinate a project, the preparation for implementation of doctoral study reform, which is kind of a huge leap for the situation in the Czech Republic. It's because I want to be brief, I'm not going to expand on that, but I can talk about it a lot. But if I just stay to the topic, we have this project on several important tasks. One of which is to development of a proper portfolio to support for doctoral candidates. And because of that, because of the research comp, we shared our current portfolio among all Czech universities altogether, and just to try to see how the portfolio or how the categories are actually implemented, what concrete courses and concrete topics are done in the given categories. So I have these categories written on these 2 slides with just several notes. As you can see, they are mentioned in the number of uses. So the numbers are not that final because the data are not there concrete. I just make it more broader assumptions, but they kind of accurate, I would guess. So as you can see, I provided the main topics that are provided by us, but also by other universities in the Czech Republic. What are the most provided topics already, and what topics they are thinking to introduce the next year. Those topics that are in the part with new topics in development, they are for sure to be done the next year, because we kind of just trying to share the best practices and the portfolios, and from this effect, new courses rises. So just to provide you the short summary of the current situation, I think that the interesting was that the making an impact category was the highest number of courses provided by university this category, which means that this was the huge sum of courses that are provided currently by our universities. However, the self-management, for example, is also the category which has the highest interest in deployment by university, which means that they are thinking the most courses are going to be introduced the next year in this particular category. So they will be becoming the top for sure, at least based on the current numbers. And also interesting in discussions, because we done already two rounds of this sharing. Doing research category was the one which was the most different in labeling by this given category, which means that some in this particular topics and particular courses felt that they belong to other category, which was also and still is actually for some discussions. So this on the top 3. Then I continue to the last 4. Then there's the managing research tools. And that's actually also interesting because this particular category has the courses with the highest number of universities provide at least one course of this category. So the first one was the one with the most courses in total, But in this particular category, managing research tools, it's the one who's the courses are mostly on the most universities provided. So it's a different point of view. And the last but not least is the cognitive abilities, which is actually by far the lowest used category, at least for now. But even the development in this category, it's not going to put it not further in comparison with others. So I'm trying to be really short because I have to give floor to my colleague, but I think, and it was actually kind of interesting for us in a way, where other universities are thinking to develop this. They are not broad, the categories, they are named pretty concrete. But when we are thinking about the organizing somehow, like to make it concrete course and design it, then the topics and this actual other parameters of it comes into mind. Because I may have one concrete example here. I will return to my previous. And that's a doing research, because as I said, it's kind of most complicated category based on our discussions by labeling, but also, and that's one of the core things to further discussions, is also about the size or intensity of the given topics, the concrete courses. By that I mean, for example, the easiest one is the academic integrity and or research ethics. By that I mean that some universities tend to provide smaller courses that are just for the research ethics, while others tend to do academic integrity, which is a much broader topic, where the research ethics the part of, which is also very important to have this open debate with other external providers, because there was one of the problems we were having, and I think we are reaching some consensus and understanding in that. So just really short summary, and that's actually the final part of my part for doctoral support. However, it's not just doctoral support, and that's the final benefit what I would like to stress out. This, what you can see, is a portfolio that was designed not just for doctoral candidates, but also for the postdocs as well, which for me is it's kind of a new thing. So far, I believe we have a good experience from that, and we would like to more just second further expand on that. So this is the concrete courses we were providing and we are going to provide in the spring 2025 with the categories as we made it all together. So I'll try to be brief to make it more on time. If there are any questions, you can sort it out probably later. And with that being said, I will give floor to my colleague Eva Janu to have a presentation on the second part for the postdocs. Thank you.
Thank you, Lukáš. So a short introduction. My name is Eva Janu, and my job is to provide support to postdoctoral researchers' career development at Charles University. And I would like to show you one concrete example of how we use the research comp, and it's in the mentoring program. The content of my presentation will be what career support of the postdoc community we provide to postdocs. What is the mentoring program about? How do we use the research comp in mentoring program? What kind of data we have? Who are our mentors? And then what is the willingness of mentors to support the mentees in strengthening their competencies? And what are the outcomes for us? So first, to the community of postdoctoral researchers at Charles University, we provide a training, which was covered by my colleague Lukáš just now. And then we provide the new mentoring program. We are now in a pilot phase. And also we will be providing the postdoctoral grants. From next year on, our co-fund program will start. I'm not going to talk about it into detail. I just want to mention that we use the research comp as a framework for the training of the selected fellows in the co-fund project proposal. And apparently it was a very good idea. So I really recommend everyone to do it when drafting your co-fund proposal. Anyways, now I want to talk about number 2, and that's the mentoring program. There are two main goals of the mentoring program for postdocs. It's providing tools for smooth career development of early career researchers and supporting equal opportunities and fostering culture and institutional change at Charles University. It is in its early stage of a pilot year. Right now, the call for mentors has been closed and call for mentees is now open for submission. And we hope the actual meetings between mentors and mentees to start in February 2025. How do we use ResearchComp in the mentoring program? The idea is very simple. The mentors mark those competencies they are willing to help the young researchers to strengthen in the application, which was part of the call for mentors. And the mentees, the postdoctoral researchers, they mark those competencies that they want to strengthen in respect to their preferred career path in their application in the call for mentees that is now open. And how will the data will be used? First of all, we believe that it will help us for mentor-mentee matching. I'm going to tell you more about it in late January 2025 when the matching will be done. And we also hope to provide the pairs, the mentor-mentee pairs, a background material which will contain actually the intersection of the competences the mentor is willing to talk about and consult, and the mentees that wants to strengthen. And it should help to increase the quality of the mentoring outcomes. Who we have the data from? As I said, the call for mentors has been closed. So now we have data from 56 mentors. And currently gathering the data from the mentees, postdoctoral researchers. So more exciting data are on the way. Who are our mentors? So we got the data from 56 senior researchers that filled out the mentors applications. They have at least 8 years of research experience. So they are R3 or R4. 25% of them are women, 79% men. 81% of them working at academic institutions, 15 at private companies, 4 at public institutions. 40% of them are Charles University employees, 32% work at other Czech institutions, 28% are employees of foreign institutions, both in European Union and the United States. And also there is a variety of disciplines covered. To sum up, it's a very diverse group, and also it's a very small sample. And what are the results that we got from the call for mentors? I will be now talking about the willingness of mentors to support the mentees in strengthening research competences. When looking at the competence areas at the 7 groups, the highest positive response was in the competence area doing research, and then it was working with others. This was not a surprise for me. And then there were cognitive abilities, self-management, managing research skills, and managing research tools got really a low positive response rate. I have these data, meaning what's the willingness of mentors to discuss for every competence, each of the 38 competences. But I decided to only show you those who get the highest positive response and the lowest positive response. And it's just an example that's relevant for Charles University. So here you can see the competences that are probably the most suitable for mentoring either, or our group of mentors is the most happy to consult. And this is the list of competences with the least positive answers. So increase the impact of science on policy and society. Only 15% of mentors are ready to discuss this topic. And the same goes for promote open innovation. And then there are the other 5 that also got very low positive responses. What are the outcomes for us? I mean, for Charles University. First of all, the word of warning. This is a very small sample of respondents, so the results should not be generalized or interpreted as a pattern. But for our mentoring programs, it means that in the next round of mentoring program, we will recruit specialized mentors to cover the competencies with the least positive answers, which were shown on the previous slide. And also we make sure that in case there is a possibility that these competencies are simply not suitable for mentoring, mentoring is not a good form to strengthen them, then we will cover them by training. We will also make sure that that's the second point. We will also take into consideration the intersection of the competence preferences during the mentor-mentee matching process. That's what I mentioned already. And we will also provide a list of mutual competence preferences as a part of the background material for mentor-mentee meetings. So this would be just a very short practical example of how we use the research comp. And if I may, I would have one personal remark, and that's I really think that the research comp should be revised in light of the increasing use of the AI tools in science and research, as several competencies will become less central, and the use with the usage of the AI tools, and others will gain further significance. So I believe that this should be really taken into account in the revision process of the first version of the research comp. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you a lot for your excellent presentation. Many food for thoughts that can be implemented in different environments, in different universities. Some very, I think, valuable suggestion. And now we'll moving to the last presentation in this slot, presentation made by Claudia Sarico, project manager from OECD. And Claudia will tell us about the Research and Innovation Careers Observatory. Claudia, I can see you're there, so the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just put it in presentation mode. Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I'm here today to talk about the Research and Innovation Careers Observatory, and thank you for inviting me to present this initiative, which, as Daria has already mentioned, is a joint initiative of the OECD and the European Union. So a quick introduction to the project. In terms of background, RECO was launched to address evidence gaps in research and innovation careers, building on OECD's existing work on research and innovation workforce issues. And I must say this work of the OECD dates back to the 1960s, and an example of that is the Frascati Manual, which offers guidelines on measuring the science, technology, and innovation endeavor. We've also done work in the Global Science Forum on reducing the precarity of academic careers and on promoting diverse career paths for doctoral and postdoctoral researchers. And it was clear as well that although we have been working on this data for some decades now, there's still some evidence gaps that need addressing. So the objective of the observatory is really to provide robust data to inform policy making, helping shape a sustainable and inclusive research and innovation workforce. And why is this important? It is important because effective research and innovation talent management is key to tackling global challenges and advancing scientific progress. And I must say that this has become more on top of the agenda in recent years. Previously, it seemed that a lot of the policy was about research and there was less emphasis on researchers. But the realization of the importance of researchers for the R&I endeavor has become more prominent recently, and that is in a way as well why we're doing this. Now, we've been discussing some challenges in R&I careers, and these, I've just put three here, three prominent ones among others. The first of one, working conditions, and so concerns over precarious employment and limited career advancement opportunities, especially in academia. And as I've said, the OECD has done work in this area and offered policy recommendations to countries, but it is important then to monitor developments in this area. Also, diversity and inclusion, and the Global Science Forum is currently doing work with countries on this. And this is about a lack of representation and biases impacting research and innovation careers, and the need for policies promoting equitable career development. And again, the observatory would allow us to monitor developments in this area. And then global mobility, issues surrounding talent retention, mobility, and international collaboration, reflecting on the brain drain versus brain circulation dynamics. Now, what is RACO's role and actions? First, data integration and standardization. That means developing frameworks for consistent data collection on research and innovation careers across countries. So we have more than 40 countries now engaged with a project. We have had bilateral meetings with these countries. And what we have found out is that there are data, of course, being collected, not just internationally, but also nationally. But there's a need to integrate this data and also to use standard definitions. And so we will be using manuals such as the Frascati manual in research and development and the Oslo manual in the area of innovation. And this is important so that we have international comparable data that will allow countries to benchmark and learn from each other. Then the second action is monitoring and reporting. So the idea is the creation of dashboards and analytical tools to track talent development, labor market trends, and mobility. And we'll have these three pillars. Today already it has been shown the ERA Talent platform will have a page for RACO. The OECD will also have this platform where we will be doing this monitoring and reporting. A third important action is collaboration, is engaging with national contact points. And as I said, we now have more than 40 countries engaged, but also expert groups and stakeholders, such as those participating in this event today, to ensure comprehensive data coverage and best practices. And this is very important because currently we have started by bringing together all international available data, all data existing in countries. So we have a coordinating data collection exercise that is currently happening until the end of the year. But then we will assess data gaps, and we envisage also to have a survey of individuals working in research and innovation, and we will need the collaboration of all stakeholders to develop this survey, but also to disseminate, to engage people in replying to this survey, so have a more comprehensive and better quality data. In terms of future directions and engagement opportunities, so the idea is to have the beta launch of RAICO in 2025. This will be the initial release of the platform that will provide data, but also insights using that data. And in terms of long-term goals, the idea is to enhance evidence-based policy making, improve career paths in R&I, and promote international cooperation. So this is a long project that was launched this year. It will go until 2030. We will start small with the beta launch, with the data that we'll be able to collect initially, but the idea is really to push the measurement agenda, to detect evidence gaps, to prioritize, and to address them as the project develops. And of course, it's very important the engagement with the different communities. We want to encourage participation through different RAICO networks, including the national contact points we have in these 40-some countries, and this means national contact points in national statistical offices, also policy officials in ministries responsible for research and innovation, but also expert groups, people that have been working on research careers and that have expertise in this area, and a wider Friends of RAICO community that include relevant stakeholders such as employers of researchers in higher education, in the government sector, in the business enterprise sector, in the non-profit sector, as well as the representative associations of researchers and innovations and other relevant organizations. I leave my contacts here, as well as a link to the RAICO website and the RAICO email, so that people can contact us and engage in this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia, a lot for this very informative presentation. And right now we are opening the second Q&A session. So if there are any questions to be asked, please raise your hands. Otherwise, I will look into chat because I have seen that there are several questions there. Okay, so raising question doesn't seem to be the case. But let me browse through the chat. Okay, so first one is kind of suggestion to Slaven, I believe. Why wouldn't your access be complemented with an interface featuring all calls for R&I project available or open, funded either from public or from private funds? Can your access provide this for free on short, medium, long term?
So currently already, if you look at your access, it is possible to put funding opportunities, right? And so a lot of these opportunities can be are funding opportunities. So this can already be put on your access. It is part of one of the key features of the European portal of your access. It is free of charge, and then when you upload opportunity, you have to say what kind of funding is behind this. So is it Horizon Europe or not? And actually, if you look at the funding opportunities on your access, the most of them are non-Horizon Europe, Horizon 2020 opportunities, but more national opportunities. So this already exists. Perhaps you have some additional needs, some additional functionalities, and of course for that you can always contact me and send me an email with your suggestions to look at if we can implement them, if it makes sense or not.
Great. I think that's very comprehensive answer. So next one goes to Eva and Lukasz. What is the process of the mentors recruitment? Are the mentors remunerated for their work?
So the process of the recruitment is that there was a call for mentors open, and it was widely published. And basically, the list of 56 mentors in the end was a result of their applications. And no, they are not remunerated for their work, and so they do it on a pro bono basis.
Okay, thank you. And the last question goes to Claudia. Well, they are spread equally. How can we contribute, engage with that project of collecting data and reporting via the NCP?
So yes, we work with national contact points. This is initially what we are currently doing is collecting existing national data from census, labor force survey, admin data, and so on. We will have another activity which will be a survey of individuals working in R&I, and here we will very much welcome the support of different communities to disseminate this survey. But we also have this email so people can contact us. We are also envisaging having a form that people can fill online to be part of our mailing list, so we can communicate with these friends of RACO and obtain feedback and ideas on as the project develops. So watch this space. We're just starting, but we envisage having this engagement with stakeholders.
Okay, thank you. Fingers crossed for that. And I can see Jok out raising his hand or heart. Excuse me.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Thank you for the very nice presentations up to now. I have a question on the research camp for Eva and for Lukasz. So I was actually wondering, I can understand that the research camp can be implemented to the training portfolio, but I was wondering, next to the mentoring that you do for the postdocs, is there also some kind of guidance that you give to, for instance, the PhD students to do some kind of assessment of what training is then most relevant for them, because that will depend from person to person. So I was just wondering if you're also implementing the research camp in that way, that you use as a sort of an assessment that people do, and how you then approach this, because that is of course challenging with that number of students that we also have in the institute that I'm working with.
Lukasz? Or from my point of view, I would like to say that now we informally advise the postdocs to use the research camp for their self-assessment, but I was very happy to hear early on today that there would be a European self-assessment tool about to come soon, because we were actually planning to make our own. So this is a great news for us. It will make our life much easier. So at the moment, we don't have this tool as a self-assessment tool, but we informally advise the postdocs on the meetings that we have with them to use it, and we explain them the logic of ResearchCom and the system.
And I will just add for the doctoral candidates, this is actually a broad topic for us. In the past, we done some questionnaires for our doctoral candidates about the interest, what we would like to have. Of course, there are two layers. There are the level of the faculty and as well as the rectorate level. But what I would like to stress out when we are heading is that we would like to pinpoint several concrete topics of soft skills courses based on the framework of ResearchComp, and make them not really compulsory, but at least worth effort for all the doctoral candidates, as well as make them more important throughout their journey as a doctoral candidate, especially at the beginning. Because what we can see is these kind of courses really help the doctoral candidates with their expectations. I must say, from my experience, the expectations are really important right at the beginning of the doctoral study to be set correctly. So this is something we are still working on, but we have the material and the effort now to do so. So for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And the last question from the chat to Dario. When will the self-assessment tool be ready?
Yes, thank you very much. And let me also join the others to thank Eva and Lukasz for the presentation, which was really useful. Self-assessment tool. Actually, I'm also happy to hear that you're happy about it. This will, I will say, be ready in the first half of next year. This is my assumption.
Sounds very reasonable. Okay, so if there are no more questions, neither in chat nor hands being raised, then I will ask you to invite you to our last blog that will be dedicated to European Charter for Research and its implementation tool, the HR Excellence Award, Excellence in Research Award. And I would like to invite Michele Rosa-Klot, the portfolio owner from the DG R&I European Commission, to tell us a word on this. Michele, over to you. You're still muted.
I just found the button. Thank you much, thank you for your introduction, and thank you very much for organizing this event and inviting me. If you made it up to here, up to almost 12 o'clock, you are probably tired. I try to be as fast as I can. I am lucky enough to be here after Luisa, after Daria, after Slaven. Many things have already been said that I can take out of my presentation, and so I will be going straight to the point. You probably already know about the European Charter for Researchers. Better, you probably already know about the Charter and Code, and most of you have already seen part of this presentation. But for those who haven't, just very fast, let me share it now. And this Magic, can you confirm that you see the presentation? Okay, let me get rid of that. No, I can't. Anyway, okay. Charter and Code, the story start in 2005. As you know, it was a Europe Priority 3. It was an open labor market for researchers. Basically, the Charter and Code is as old as ERA itself, more or less. It has a long story. It's a long story. What was the idea at the time was to create a document that was addressing both the researchers and the recruiters and funders. And the idea at the time was to articulate that in two pillars, one, the charter and the code, in two parts, the charter and the code, articulated in 4 main pillars in 40 principles. I am not going to explain all these 40 principles, but suffice to say they were tackling, let's say, what at the time was the universe of the discussion between both in ethical principles to researchers and of the environment where the research was taking place. We were talking about intellectual property rights, gender balance, the working condition in general, and more importantly, starting at some point also of the OTMR, Open Transparent Merit-Based Recruitment. Say that about the Charter and Code. I'm going very fast on that because I will tell you in a second what is going to happen with that, what is happening now with that. In 2008, all that started being implemented via a mechanism that at the time was called HRS4R, HR Strategy for Researchers, which is basically, in a nutshell, it's a voluntary, of course, as Louisa already mentioned, it stemmed from a commission recommendation, and this was not a legislative binding issue. So it is voluntary. Institution can participate to that. It's a voluntary structure and monitor mechanism, which is articulated on an ongoing system for succession of gap analysis and action plans for the granting and the maintaining of the HR Excellence in Research Award, which is to be reassessed every 3 years. Now, I want to stop a second here. First of all, we are talking about something addressing mainly with this process, mainly the institutions employing researchers, not the researchers themselves. But in reality, the researchers are a crucial component of the entire process. And that's why this is a process that has to be addressed both at the research organizations and at the researchers at the same time. The second thing I wanted to say on that, the process is taking place since 2008, and as my colleague that spoke before me has been stressing, we are in the process of simplifying, gathering into an easy, accessible form all these initiatives under the Talent Platform. That's why all that is gonna take with this QR code to the Talent Platform initiative on the HR Excellence in Research. This is gonna be transformed into a completely revamped, revised, renewed process. Of course, the process itself is not going to change, but its articulation, its practical articulation will be. I am not going to describe it here because this has not been kicked off yet. It will be kicked off on the 26th of November here in Brussels at the second conference on research careers. But I'm not spending more words on that. Just to reply to the question why an institution may want to start this process and obtain, or if it is already started, to maintain, to continue the process, to maintain the HR Excellence in Research Award. Well, there are many advantages. One of the most prominent that has been repeated constantly by all the institutions taking part to the process is the fact that the HR strategy for researchers itself, all the process creates a framework for institutional change. It provides guidance, advice. The assessment by the experts is not only an audit, is also a moment for recollecting advice and guidance. And I'll go very fast again. Just to think that the interaction, the synergies between EURAXESS and the HR Excellence Research are very strong. While EURAXESS talks directly to the researchers, HR Excellence Research talks to the institutions, but the synergy is such that an institution who is awarded the HR Excellence in Research Award is immediately displaying in your access. It's the logo for HR Excellence. Therefore, it becomes immediately visible to the researchers applying for a position that that institution is making an effort to implement the principle of the Charter and Code. I was going already to say European Charter for Researchers, but that will be in a second. What are we talking about here? Who is in the process, what kind of institution is in the process, where it is, etc. Well, today I updated this document, these numbers this morning, this very morning. We have 744 institutions in the HR Excellence in Research Award already awarded, and that they are scattered over 39 countries. Of course, here you have a nice map that it is scrollable, and you can reach all the single universities in any given place. This is reachable via the dashboard in the HR Excellence in Research initiative in the talent platform I provided you before. Now, okay, that's the timeline. What happened in the past? You don't need me to go through it, but in 2021, we started at the European Commission a huge work of revamping, simplification, and streamlining. That was the outcome of which was the creation of the framework for researchers, the construction of the talent platform that has been already presented, and the revision of the Charter and Code. The Charter and Code became the annex to the Council recommendation on the European Framework for Researchers, adopted in December 2023, and took the form of a document that was simplified, streamlined, included new policy measures, and explicitated the fact that it is directed to all researchers. We mentioned the Frascati definition, yes, all researchers in all sectors and across all disciplines, not only STEM, but also SSH and the rest. And in all sector, because we know that the intersectoral mobility, it is absolutely crucial in fostering the world of research and the employability of researchers. Streamlined and simplified. We needed to reduce the number of the principles to avoid repetition, and to keep in mind that this is a practical document. This is a document that the institution are using to frame its institutional strategy. And then new policy measures. After 18 years of Charter and Code, this policy discussion has been reached, has been steered in different directions. New elements took the limelight. I'm speaking about the gender equality with the gender equality plans, open science and innovation, etc., etc. Therefore, the result of it was a new European Charter for Researchers, still based on 4 pillars, slightly reworked, but articulated now in 20 principles instead of 40 like before. No principle was lost, absolutely. If possible, new principles has been brought in, has been reorganized and restructured. So this, for whoever has been working with the Charter and Code, that is to reassure you that no change in the content of the old Charter and Code has happened. Instead, it has been streamlined and simplified as a practical document. The last slide that I want to present, and I hope I have been fast enough, faster than that I cannot, is what is going to happen in this extremely delicate moment where everything is changing. We have the European Charter for Researchers that is changing the Charter and Code. We have the new implementation mechanism that is taking the place of the HRS4R. Nothing is changing from this point of view. An institution who has been endorsing the Charter and Code, and that's the whereas 39 in the Council recommendation, there is no prejudice in the adoption of the European Charter for Researchers towards those institutions that have already endorsed the Charter and Code, meaning that an institution endorsing the Charter and Code is considered as endorsing also the European Charter for Researchers. HR Excellence for Research Award, any institution who obtained the HRS Excellence in Research Award at the previous stage will not lose it. Not only will not lose it, but will not have to restart any process. There is a flow ongoing from the HR Excellence in Research Award under the 40 principles of the Charter and Code to the HR Excellence in Research Award under the 20 principles of the European Charter for Researchers. Thus, the specific instruction how this will happen has been widely and repeatedly disseminated via the HR Excellence in Research mailing list. They have been published on the e-tool and so on, forth, so on. In a nutshell, what is going to happen? Whoever has started their process under the old 40 principle will finish, go to the end, to the moment of the assessment of their ongoing phase, conclude it normally, and then move with the new European Charter for Researchers. I will not give you instruction and detailed description of the cogs and under the hood. That will be dedicated for more a workshop than a conference. So, but in any case, if there are specific questions, I will be very happy to reply to them. This is, of course, my personal email and the link both to the Talent platform and to the HR Excellence Award initiative under the Talent platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas, for this excellent presentation and approaching it from a very versatile manner. But now it's time to deliver some practical examples, both from academia and from business. I would like to invite Daniel Müller from University of Siegen to take the floor and give us some insights from Germany. Daniel, over to you.
Yes, I hope everyone can hear me. I see the summed up. You can see my slides. I have only 10 slides, so I will be finished, I trust, in the 10 minutes allotted to me. But let me allow to start with this short anecdote. When I saw that Michele was speaking right in front of me, I said, oh no, that reminds me of the World Cup finals of 1982, when Italy scored 3 goals and then Germany had a late consolation goal in the 83rd minute or something. Because of course, many of my slides might be superfluous because Michele is talking about the same things. But I think I still have a few insights, bottom-up insights, which might be valuable. Who am I? By the way, I don't have a slide to introduce myself. I am sort of, at Siegen University, I am sort of Eva and Lukáš rolled into one. We have only 1,000 PhD students, not 6,000 like Charles University. So in our case, the Postgraduate Center, of which I am the head, is responsible for both the PhDs and the postdocs. Okay, I call this this first approach certificatomania, pros and cons. All the universities are getting lots of certificates. We are all family friendly. We are innovation leaders. We are diversity friendly, inclusive. We have the best appointment processes and so on. Siegen has lots of certificates, I can tell you. And of course, a negative about certificates is they generally cost money. So the certification cost, the agency wants money. Also, certificates inevitably demand some work, which is time, which again is money. On the other side, there are also 2 positives. They can generate direct benefits. Sometimes in the context of proposals, you need certain structures, you need certain certificates. They are of actual quantifiable, tangible benefit. And less tangible, less easily quantifiable, you also have something like reputational gains, like increased visibility, like employer branding, etc. You realize my slides rarely have any artistic value. They are more like a script so that you can actually read afterwards what did this guy talk about. So let's come to these points individually. Costs. Actually, we had an on-site visit last November here in Siegen. HRS4 imposes no direct costs. The 3 external auditors from Belgium, from Spain, and from Poland booked their own hotel, covered their own costs. The European Union covered those costs, so we had no costs. We put them some cookies on the table and some water for tea and some coffee, and that was that. So there are no direct accreditation or certification costs with HR excellence in research. The time, of course, I cannot deny that. Obviously, HRS4 takes time. I'm the HRS4 manager. It takes time. But one can hope, and in Siegen that is certainly true, for massive synergy effects. So a lot of the time will be spent on things you would have been spending time on anyway. Yeah. So these are not extra topics. Michele was talking about the new topics like gender, diversity, inclusion, open science, outreach activities, third mission, citizen science, things like that. Well, we're doing this anyway. Yeah? We would be doing it without HRS4R. We are now including it in HRS4R, so that is not really additional work. And the benefits, well, that's very true. The direct benefits, obviously, the HR Excellence in Research Award is a European Union certificate. So if you have the award, then this has direct bearing on the Model Grant Agreement, because in the Model Grant Agreement for Horizon Europe, just as Horizon 2020 before it, you are explicitly bound to the principles in the Charter and Code. And if you have the certificate, you can show the certificate and say, I'm compliant. Yeah? And the others have to write a lot of beautiful prose to make sure they are compliant. About the employer branding, obviously, that's difficult to measure. What is the actual value, reputational gain for a university like Siegen? That's a strategic decision for the university leadership to take. Yeah, that's not tactical, like maybe the Model Grant Agreement. That's more strategic. Do we want this? Do we need this? Is this something we want to do? Yeah, we've seen the 700 something institutions which currently have the award as of today. In my point of view, the HR Excellence in Research Award is indicative of a commitment to internationalization, especially international recruitment. Yeah, we have this in repeated talks. Yeah, this is about the European labor market for researchers. It's about a commitment to achieve best practice procedures and professionalization in all aspects of human resources for researchers. That's the commitment behind it. It's also a signal of a commitment to not lose sight of a focus on research. We are a university, and sometimes the teaching, don't tell my rector that I said teaching is meaningless. I didn't say that. I didn't mean it. But obviously, at some point, administration and other topics might crowd out research. We are also a research institution, and our teaching is also research-based. Yeah? So research is important. And finally, of course, it also shows very simply a commitment to the common values of the European Union and the European research area. So in short, in my view, those image boosters are most welcome, in particular for an institution like ours. Yeah, Charles University is from 1348. We are from 1972, so we came 600 years late and are missing 600 years of funding. We only have 14,400 students, 1,000 PhD. We are regionally centered, not a big city. Siegen has 100,000 people. For us, this boost in visibility is certainly worthwhile. So do I think, and so does my rectorate think about this. The process. Here, I think the redundancy with Michele is maybe largest. We have an endorsement letter. You endorse the principles. You have a gap analysis using a template regarding the Charter for Researchers and the Code of Conduct for the recruitment of researchers. Now the new system, the 20 principles instead of 40. You have an action plan using a template again. Then you have interim reports, renewal phases, and then you start again with improving your gap analysis. So it's an ongoing, repetitive process. What is the main benefit? I have the slides, a few slides now called Recognize Yourself. The biggest gain, in my view, and of all the other aficionadas and aficionados in HRS4 I have ever met from any country, is not the prospect of some money in Horizon Europe. That's good. We all love the money from Horizon Europe, but something less tangible. You are really going to gain a deeper understanding of your own institution, your university, your academy, your Fraunhofer Institute, your Max Planck Society, whatever. You are going to understand better what your institution is actually doing, where it is strong in HR for researchers, where it is mediocre in HR for researchers, and where it is even maybe not quite mediocre yet. Yeah, so you're really going to understand that. The structures of all our institutions are very, very complex. I'm the head of a postgraduate center, as I told you, from doctoral candidates up to term-limited junior professors. But there are, of course, other stakeholders in HRS4. There is the HR department, naturally. There's the international office, including their welcome center, the equal opportunities office, the research service, even the patent scout is involved. And so lots of people are involved whom I do not generally meet every day. Even if you are, like I fear I am, a hyperactive, extrovert, oversharing, networking maniac, you don't know everybody in your university. You are not aware of all the things which are going on, which are pertinent for HRS4R, for your researchers, whom you're trying to help. And HRS4R is the tool, the one tool which really can help you bring everyone together, bind all the initiatives together in a more systematic way to work on a common living document and improve it continuously, because the next action plan and the next interim assessment and the next on-site visit are coming. All our institutions, which I mentioned, are continuously working, as I said, on HRS4 relevant stuff anyway, regardless of HRS4. You have laws, you have compliance rules. There are funding programs like Horizon Europe, but also German national programs which demand diversity and open access and other forms of open science, like pre-registration and research data management, and so on and so on. There are other certificates which I mentioned, costing money. There are priorities of our own organization, which we want to follow. My boss and her boss and the rectorate, everybody has their ideas of what they want to advance. And many of these things are relevant for HRS4R. So if you are going along this route anyway, then you might just as well bind it all together, see that you fill the gaps which may remain, and then you have a very nice HRS4R action plan. Okay, what do you need? You need a person, the HRS4R manager, like me, who loves to do that, who really is engaged and loves to do that. If you just hire someone who is between two jobs, maybe not such a good idea. It helps if this person not just reads and understands English, but also writes and speaks English with some ease or even with some pleasure. Otherwise, they might have a hard time. All of it is in English. Also helpful, of course, identification with your institution, with academic, scientific ideals, with the European idea. That's obviously not going to hurt. You also need the commitment of the leadership of the institution. So in our case, we're a university, we have a rector, and the rector is on board, just like her predecessor was on board. That's very important. The European Union wants to see this commitment from the top. But the HRS4R manager also occasionally might need some help, and then it's always good to know the very top is also engaged. You need a steering committee as well, including important stakeholders, which I mentioned, HR and others. But Michele made this clear, but I'm not going to leave it out anyway, because it's really, really important. The European Union does not want a top-down process. They do not want the rector or the HRS4R manager, regardless of how good they are or how engaged they are, to do this on their own. They want explicitly to include in a systematic, mechanical way the researchers themselves. All career stages, R1, doctoral researchers to R4, leading researchers, so permanent professors. Everybody should be on board and should be involved in the process and should have their say. Preferred tools are surveys, questionnaires, online, individual or group interviews, and indeed focus group discussions. Now, that's not always easy. That's obvious. Researchers have very little time for such things. There are a lot of questionnaires to be filled out anyway, all the time, sessions to attend anyway. And those who do find the time persistently are perhaps not really those whose opinion you want overrepresented in your sample. There may be occasionally a busybody professor who is always creating problems, saying he doesn't need diversity. When he was young, there was no diversity. You maybe do not really need him on every committee. So in that sense, that can be a problem, but it can be overcome, and it's very, very worthwhile to talk with your rank and file population unfiltered. Final slide, OTMR. In Germany, at least, OTMR is particular kind of a hurdle for many institutions. If you look at the statistics which Michele had, Germany is kind of underrepresented in HRS4R. And OTMR, from what I've been told by colleagues, is a major reason. OTMR, of course, is open, transparent, and merit-based recruitment of researchers. And that means that you have to give feedback to applicants, for example, that you have to give transparent feedback to failed applicants why they were not selected. And in Germany, many universities have great fears that this will have legal repercussions, that their answers will lead to them being taken to court. I will say that it is quite possible to overcome this and to deal with it. And if there are any questions on that, I will be glad to answer them. Many thanks.
Many thanks for you, Daniel, for this very inspiring and enthusiastic presentation. I would like now, I can see our colleagues from Repsol, so I'd like to give the floor to Sandra Blasquez, and Head of Open Innovation Team, and Laura Garcia Diego, Open Innovation Senior Analyst, to present their perspective on the award from the business environment.
Okay, hello. Can you
Hello.
hear me well?
We can hear you well.
Okay, so good morning, everyone, and it's a real pleasure to be here on this presentation. So first of all, good morning. We are Laura and Sandra Blasquez from the Open Innovation Team. As Daniel Muller said, we are like the HR managers here in Repsol. But I would like to talk about Repsol because perhaps we are a different role here versus the other presentations. Repsol is a private company that has been supplying to society energy for more than 80 years. From bringing of energy through bottled gas to homes, to the recent agreement we have reached with a company for the development of renewable fuels for space rockets. Why? Because Repsol is a company committed to progress and development of society. Repsol is a global multi-energy company provider present throughout the value chain. It is boosting the energy transition. Proof of that is that we were the first company in the oil and gas sector to set the goal to be a net zero emission company by 2050. Repsol works on its own developments that respond to the technological challenges of the energy industry. These projects provide solutions to the greatest challenge that society have ever faced, the climate change. So we in Repsol are transforming our current refineries and petrochemical complexes, mainly in Spain, Portugal, and Peru, into real energy hubs, working on different lines to the decarbonization of the industry, like CCUS technologies, the promotion of advanced mobility with the development of low carbon proof fuels, biogas, and renewable hydrogen. So in this slide, you can see some figures that show who we are today present in all the value chain. But this ambition transformation will be able only to achieve through technology. We have an R&D center in Madrid, in Spain, our Repsol Technology Lab, with labs, pilot plants, and more than 200 scientists that share their knowledge to make these goals possible. But if we want to go further and faster, we can do it alone. So we have to open up and also look for innovation outside, to startups, universities, research centers, and other entities that help us to fulfill our ambitious projects. So in an overall, our model is based on scientific developments and innovation through one of the best professional teams. So this is who we are, and Laura will introduce our strategy regarding this award. So that is my turn. So innovation is a fundamental pillar of Repsol business strategy. So as Sandra said, to achieve this ambitious commitment that to bringing a net zero emissions by 2050, we have a challenging decarbonization journey ahead. And the only way to progress on that is through innovation, science, and technology. To successfully lead this industrial transformation and achieve our ambitious goal, it is essential for Repsol to attract the top talent. So by bringing in the best mind, Repsol can continue to innovate, adapt to new challenges, and maintain our commitment to progress and sustainability. And for that reason, one of our main competitive advantages is our people. So according to the company 2030 strategy, the scientist community may increase in our division, especially in the industrial transformation area.
And this was another motivation to start the certification process. Resol is the first and a unique R&D center supported by a large corporation, at least in Spain, that has been distinguished with this certification. No? And as we say before in the dashboard, Spain is the major nation that takes most awarded institutions. Sorry, because I think. Sorry. Why a private company as Resol would like to have this recognition? No? So the main benefits of being our organization are the recognition of our commitment to developing and continuously improving our human resource strategies for researchers, in accordance with the principles in the European Charter and Code. This a guarantee to attract the top talent. It's another way of create this favorable and stimulation work environment for research work. But at the end, this is not only for scientists, because at the end, most of the actions have an impact, a positive impact in the whole organization. The certification also provides a greater international visibility, making this organization more competitive when applying to European funds or other international opportunities. And the certification positions the organization more competitively in the global research landscape. So, well, this is the certification process. So now we are in the implementation phase of the revised action plan. So in November 2023, we have this internal review. And in this phase, we were supported by FETA Consulting. So many thanks to all the team involved. And our main goal is the renewal of this certification in 2027. Sorry. We understand that this is an ongoing process of continuous improvement. No? And so the certification marks the beginning of implementing good research policies, promoting research, attracting talent, and this is a continuous enhancement. So improving the process through research is the only way to progress. So as we see in the previous presentation, so we need a steering committee, so which is formed by professionals from different areas of the research field. So it is a multidisciplinary team of more than 20 people. So the committee is formed by, well, consisting the CTO of technology and corporate venturing, the director of the different technical areas, the open innovation team. As Sandra said, we are the manager of this certification. And then we have the representative of the human resources area, the people and organization team. We have also representative of operative model area and representative of different research stages. So, but the committee has quarterly meetings where in this meeting we can monitor and control the progress of the improvements action, and as well as evaluate the need for alternative or extra measures to cover any gap that we can detect. So the initiative have been supported from the highest level of the management, from the directly depending on the CEO of Resol. So thus ensuring its success and alignment with the strategic objectives of the organization. And also many of the several actions of the Human Resource Research Award are included in the annual management goals. And that means that the part of our annual target-based remuneration of the entire general management will depend on the achievement of the implementation and the maintenance of this certification. So the initial action plan had 19 initiatives that were established as an action plan with their KPIs for achievement. Because we are aware that this is a process of continuous improvement. In the interim assessment in November 2 years ago, 8 new actions have been included in the action plan. So here are all the actions included in our actual plan. The aspects in which we are aware that is a process of the aspect in which we have detected the most areas for improvement, and the working conditions, ethical and professional aspect, and training and development. So this graphic summarizes the status of the revisit action plan. As I said, most of the actions proposed in the initial plan have been implemented. So completed are 14, ongoing 4, and extending just 1. Well, what is the main steps for the next phase, for our renewal phase? So we have to continue with the implementation of the revisit action plan. We have to promote the recurring activities as annual cultural service, skill level meetings, and so on. We have more detail in our report. We have to collect new proposals for scientists in order to incorporate it then in the renewal phase. We have to communicate this certification, so we have to dissemination of the certification in different audience within the corporation, especially for the new recruits. Positioning Repsol as an employer brand, no? So Repsol Technology Lab want to be one of the most aware avant-garde private technology centers in Europe. And we want to attract the best talent by assuring that they are in the best place to work. And that's it from our side. So thank you very much for your attention, and thanks for the opportunity to share our experience.
Thank you, Laura and Sandra, for this very good presentation, and fingers crossed for your further development plan of this instrument. So right now I'd like to open the last Q&A block in our presentation. After that, we will have the concluding remarks by Emmanuel Gardon. If there are any questions, please raise your hands. Okay, I can. Luisa, please take the floor. Luisa?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Luisa from DLR. So I already posted my question in the chat. It's for Dr. Müller, and I wanted to ask you, you've named some of the challenges that are happening in the German context, and I was wondering if there is any sort of exchange with other higher education institutions, but maybe also from the private sector, on these challenges that are sort of specific to the national context and how to best overcome them. So if you share any lessons learned or best practices in that way, and if there isn't, if you think that would be beneficial for institutions who are maybe also wanting to apply but are not sure how to overcome these challenges.
Yes, Luisa, it's a very good point. Indeed, the German University Rectors Conference, the Hochschulrektorenkonferenz, the Germans love their words long, yeah, one word in German, University Rectors Conference. They have a working group on HRS4, both current holders, who sometimes, of course, don't attend regularly, but we do, and some others also do, and also applicants or people interested, where there are stakeholders interested. And we are meeting regularly. We used to meet once every 6 months. And now we're meeting every year. And we exchange everything. We talk about these things. People relate why their rectorate has misgivings, like OTMR, or like what does it cost, or where are the benefits. I saw in the chat something which I didn't cover, namely people asking what is the benefits not for the university but for the researchers. What is the actual yeah, that's a brilliant question. Yeah, it tells you something. I used to be a researcher myself, that I didn't allude to it in all my slides. So touché. Yeah, so that's a brilliant thing. Yeah, that we have this exchange, because then people we have also outside experts. The Hochschulrektorenkonferenz has, of course, a Brussels office, and they could get Fulvio Esposito to Germany, and other experts talk to us, and that was always brilliant. So we have this exchange forum, but we might also Vitaly Bondarenko from DLR was also repeatedly there, so we might sort of kind of bind it together more. But I think it's a very useful thing, because we have these national things. The German Arbeitnehmererfindungsgesetz, the employers' invention law. Yeah, these are typical things. So we have the patent guideline of the European Union, but we have our national laws as well. So it's good to have a national HRS4R conference on the side as well. We do.
Thank you. And do you think there would be any merit in having this also across member states? So to also hear about the experiences from other institutions from other member states?
I think it might be more difficult to arrange that. I would be very open to that. I know some colleagues from Portugal and Lithuania, I think, with whom I've been chatting. Yeah, so yes, obviously, yeah, that would be very useful.
Thank you.
Hey, fantastic. So, Michaela, I saw that you've been raising your hand. There's a series of questions to you too. If not, then let me read them. Some of them, at least. There was something about Quora that you've managed to answer already. So, yes, we still face issues to convince the researchers that HR award brings a value for them. Are there any success stories that HR award holding institution will improve the improvement and well-being of the researchers?
I may want to add something. This is a crucial point that you can. I have been virtually traveling a lot and talking with many organizations, several different countries, and this is a recurrent problem, especially in our one students, PhD candidates. Usually when you have a PhD candidates, the leitmotif is, oh, I want to do just my research, don't bother me with the administration. The point is that more and more institutions are organizing events. I just participated to one 2 days ago, on Friday in Rome, virtually again, dedicated to researchers to raise awareness. The main point is that the researchers are not only the beneficiaries of all this system of the European Charter, but they are the actors, the engine for the creation of the action plans of the institutions to implement the European Charter for researchers. And that's the message that the institution try to convey. In some places, I have seen that kind of events had an impact. And I replied in chat that at the beginning of 2024, I was sent a video from the University of Torino, the Polytechnic of Torino, another Italian university, dedicated just researchers, where there was researchers just recounting their experience and how the HR Excellence in Research Award of the Polytechnic of Torino, the process, had impacted their life. And you know, the feedback was multiple. We had feedback on the fact that the living conditions have changed, that the involvement of researchers has changed, the international visibility of the researchers' mobility has changed. So these advantages are concrete and they are there. The point is how to display to researchers and how to drag in researchers is more a matter of communication than the absence of advantages.
Okay, thank you. And I can see one more question, which is kind of alike to the previous one. How do you estimate the impact of the HR strategy for
Maciej, I lost you.
Researchers to institutions? I have actually, yes, I was cut off the meeting. Yeah. The question is about the impact of HR strategy for researchers to institutional recognition. you kind of answered partly for that.
Yeah,
but...
no, well, that's one of the main advantages. I was mentioning very fast. I agree, too fast probably. The main connection, interaction, synergies between EURACSS and the HRS4R, HR Excellence in Research Award, which is exactly meant to boost international visibility. The fact that once you get, that's a technical automatism, once an organization is awarded, it's immediately, the award is immediately displayed right next to the job offers of that institution, which means that anybody using EURACSS, sifting EURACSS, sifting the job openings published in EURACSS, will immediately see which university has been awarded, which immediately means which university is investing strength, resources, time, effort in the implementation of the principle of the European Charter for Researchers, making it more desirable, making it for researchers is immediately evident that job offers are respecting the open, transparent, merit-based recruitment system. The living conditions, they have taken into account, for example, spouse opportunity for spouses, that the receiver has been taken into account as the portability of the pension rights, and so forth, so on.
Yes, I totally agree. There are some indisputable value added in terms of recognition. I can see no more question, neither on chat nor hand raised. So I would like to ask Emmanuel Gordon to share with us some final conclusions on this event, and then there'll be final wrapping up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maciek, and a very warm thank you to all of you for your attendance and for your active engagement this morning. I think this was very meaningful to see so many questions. We hope that you leave this webinar with more answers than questions. We hope that you leave this webinar with clarity and actionable steps about how these policies, how these tools can be applied in your respective institutions, in your respective context, and how they can benefit you or your target groups. Very many thanks also go to the speakers. Personally, I think they have delivered very interesting, complementary, and useful presentations and testimonies. So now what's next? At the Coimbra Group, as co-sponsors with Portugal of this action, jointly with the European Commission, we've been working hard in the past 2 years advancing this policy action of the European Research Area Policy Agenda. But I would say very importantly, very significantly, we've advanced this policy action with the commitment of and with the contributions from a huge number of member states, associated countries, stakeholder organizations. This was the most committed policy action across the whole ERA policy agenda. And we can say after hearing to the presentations today, I think the presentation from the stakeholders have showed today the relevance of this collective effort, the relevance of the European Framework for Research Careers, and the relevance of its supporting tools. We have heard that we have seen on the slides that the implementation of the recommendations and the approaches which are promoted in the Council recommendation adopted in 2023 in December, the implementation is underway. And I would quote maybe Louisa, who earlier said, progress is slow, but progress is sure. And I think this could be a final word for this seminar. We can see also from the different testimonies from both public, private institutions that the support measures which have been revamped are operational, and research institutions manage to use them already. I think we can also welcome the progress made in the development of the Research and Innovation Careers Observatory, which is one of the central recommendations of the European Framework for Research Careers. So very positive to hear so much enthusiasm and so much implementation already going on. I would finally conclude by reiterating the call made by Luisa earlier, that the European Framework for Research Careers needs the engagement of all of you. This is very important, and I would like to encourage you after this webinar to first actively participate in the national conversation or in the regional conversations on the European Framework for Research Careers, which are happening in your country. There will be, or there are already, events, meetings, workshops organized in person, online, in your respective settings. And it's very important that you attend, participate actively, providing feedback on. We've heard just 2, 3, 4 stakeholders today, but it's important you also engage at national level and share your experience. Secondly, I would say you heard that the work will continue. We have already proposed actions for the next policy agenda. So I would also encourage you to engage with the ministry in your country that is involved in the European Research Area Forum, and especially with the actors in the national authorities, which are involved in the ERA Action 4 or in the continuation of this action in the next policy agenda. It's important you provide them with feedback. It's important you support them, you highlight them, the importance of their work. And why is all this important? I will then go back to Manuel's initial words and Luisa's presentation. They have both highlighted the policy scenario transformation that is going on in the European Union these months. This means that there is a momentum, we have an avenue, and we need to keep this going. So we need to continue to work on research careers. We need to continue to work on the implementation of the European Framework for Research Careers. And we will actually convene a meeting of all member states, associated countries, and stakeholder organizations which are committed to this action at the end of this month, in November, in the framework of the European Research Careers Conference, where we will discuss the implications of these most recent political developments and important reports, Letta, Hayter, Draghi, and so on. So thank you very much for your time, and hope we'll meet again in the future.
Okay, thank you, Manuel. That was actually the final word from the whole ERA Action 4 consortium, the Commission,